Welcome, everyone. We have a great video for you today. So whether you're buying, selling, or helping clients navigate the process, home inspections can make or break the deal. So today we'll discuss market trends from a home inspection perspective and dive into the top 3 challenges realtors face, along with practical solutions to overcome them. Joining us today is Adam Dalton, owner of 239 Inspections, which is a Premier Plus Realty preferred vendor. So welcome, Adam. I'm so glad you could hop on with us today.
Jillian, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here and
Yes.
looking forward to share kind of what I see in the market and how we can best help the realtors at Premier Plus.
Wonderful. Would you open with just a little bit about 239 Inspections? How long have you been around and what services do you provide?
Yeah, 239 started in 1994. We've been around for a long time. All of our inspectors are very experienced, and we do a really good job of trying to come in and protect the buyer. We do it in a way that's non-alarming, and we got a lot of really good feedback and online reviews. So we know that realtors have choices and buyers have choices. So we spent a lot of time, and we have well over 2,000 5-star reviews on Google, similar kind of numbers on Facebook and some other online venues. We try and make it easy.
That's incredible.
And we're really there to help in the transaction.
I really appreciate that, and I'm excited to dive deep into some of the benefits to the buyer and really the seller and the realtors involved that you guys provide. But first, let's start with what you're seeing in the market in terms of home inspections. What's going on out there?
Yeah, I think many of your agents probably know this, but I want you to just understand we see it too. We see the inventory September year on year is up nearly 50%. We see that the new listings are up 5% year on year. Closed sales are down 15%. Median sales prices are down. And the biggest and most important one for us as a home inspection company is new pendings. I mean, we are looking, once the contract goes pending, that is when we get our business. So that is also down 10% year on year. I'm happy to say, we have done well to kind of weather the storm. This year is definitely been down from a real estate perspective, but we've shifted and we've moved into doing more storm related stuff and going into and doing some more insurance related stuff. But I just want the agents to know, we know what's going on in the market, and we know it has shifted from a very strong seller's market to a buyer's market. And there's more inventory. It's sitting longer. It's selling for less. You better have your strategies, on point to shift the properties that you have listed right now.
Right. And it is such an odd market because while we have higher inventory, and actually in September saw the highest jump year over year in terms of a jump of pending transactions, and that's continuing on through October. So the buyer demand is there, but the prices are not necessarily going down, and we're seeing homes selling for about 96% of what that final sales price was on the MLS, which could be lower because we're seeing some price reductions, but overall the price reductions aren't incredibly significant. So you have this sort of sellers really think that the value of their home is what it is, and they really want to get that equity that they earned over the last couple of years. But you have pent up buyer demand. They're a little hesitant because of economic factors. So how does the home inspection process play into that tension between the buyers and the sellers?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's important to work with somebody who is, even keeled, who is non-alarmist. And agents have a lot of competition right now, in and amongst themselves. But I would argue one of the biggest competitors, if you have listings, is new construction. Mm-hmm. We are doing a lot of new construction work right now. And uh, the builders have built. There was pent up demand. I think they saw it during COVID, and man, have they built, and they are continuing to build. You know, the prices that they're offering are extremely competitive. So even if a seller thinks their house is worth something, I mean, you got to compare it to what new construction is. Not only is the
Mm-hmm.
price competitive, but I'm seeing interest rates, below 5% in a lot of these new communities. So if you're taking a listing, I think it's imperative to not just do comps in the community, but also look, inland. A lot of these communities are further east, and people may give up the location for cost, and that cost
Mm-hmm.
comes in the form of the price of the home and also the interest rate. So, what strategies are you employing when you list the home? I would throw out a couple of suggestions. Number one, um, maybe you set something aside to help buy down the interest rate
Mm-hmm.
for the first year or two. Maybe you get a pre-inspection, to show that this may not be a brand new home, but show that it is in good shape. Maybe you get a warranty on the property for a year. All things that give people comfort and confidence in buying the resale homes.
Right. And I will add, just from a broker's perspective, those three items that you described, not just protect the buyer, but also protect the realtor in terms of our Johnson v. Davis disclosure laws. So if you are engaging in a pre-inspection, and then you are having your sellers fill out that seller's disclosure right afterwards, and you're getting a home warranty, if any issues down the line arise from that transaction, you are really, really protected. And so I think that's just a good business move and a great thing for the sellers. And so work that into your budget. What are you seeing? I know we were going to talk about the top three things going on in home inspections, and what to do about it.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had a historic amount of rainfall this year. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing. So I live on a golf course. I'm on the board for golf course in our community, and in the 20 plus years that this golf course has been here, it's never been wetter. So October 5th was the day of highest saturation. Um, you know, we were documenting the golf course, where the water was as we looked to, put drainage in. But like that's the first thing is like just understand different things happen, in different seasons. And we've had two hurricanes this year. I'm gonna review a couple of them. If I go back to 17, we had Irma. Irma was the
Mm-hmm.
first storm that we had in a very long time, and we saw a lot of wind-related damage: trees down, soffits, fascias, roofs damaged, wind-driven rain. Heck, a lot of wind-driven rain into vents on roofs in brand new houses that weren't installed correctly. Um, so that first storm with Irma was really all about wind. Um, then when it came to Ian, we got we really got a lot of surge, and the areas that are there are pretty well documented. But I want I want all of the agents that are listening to this to just understand people who are moving from here don't know which areas were flooded and which ones weren't. Um, the NOAA website has imagery taken like the last 5 days following the storm. So if anyone ever wants to see the areas that flood easily, it's there. It's documented. You can actually provide value for your buyers and show them, what areas flooded during the historic, highest storm surge that this area has seen. And
Mm-hmm.
then the last storms that we've had with Helene and Milton, we did get some surge, and we're seeing a lot of that. But probably more than anything, this one's electrical.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of salt driven rainwater, and then it didn't rain afterwards for almost 2.5 3 weeks. And I know a lot of people in the area saw their lights flicker, ACs in and out. um, and we've seen a lot of major appliances get zapped because of those surges. So um, with with its latest round, I think it's important to make sure that you're getting mold tests done
Mhm.
after the power has been in and out, and make sure that the properties don't have any elevated levels of mold.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about these series of storms, particularly Milton and Helene, where we didn't have that incredible amount of rain afterwards, is that it was far-reaching. So nobody was essentially safe from that. We had electrical issues on the coast and electrical issues uh, much further inland than you would have expected, with the power flickering and power outages, transformers blowing, things like that. So it is an interesting outcome of just the positioning of each storm. And I just want to take a moment to remind everybody that as of October 1st, any executed contract needs to have that flood disclosure. So your sellers have to execute and deliver a flood disclosure to any prospective buyer prior to a sales contract being entered into. So in your listing packet, we have it in your doc requirements, but in your listing packet, you will notice that the new law, the new flood disclosure is in your listing packet. So take that moment to discuss with your seller. Maybe look up those images on the NOAA site to help them understand how buyers will see their home, and really encourage them to disclose all known facts that would materially affect the value of the property. So, Adam, you mentioned mold and flooding and surge. What are things you look for to identify a potential area of interest?
Yeah, I think with the surge, we're looking for the line. If you see,
Mm-hmm.
separation of baseboards, if you see debris, that's really the things that we're looking for. The home inspection, it's visual, right? And we do
Mm-hmm.
have some fancy tools, moisture meters that measure down, below the surface, 3/4 of an inch. We've got thermal imaging cameras, but those tools typically don't come out of the bag unless you suspect there's something there. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
an area, if it's um, that's been flooded and there's visible signs of it, those tools come out of the bag to basically confirm what we see. Um, we have seen a lot of insurance companies. I mean, they have been clamping down for quite some time now. 4-point inspections, I recommend getting them on any property that is over 20 years of age. Some carriers may require it even less than that. But that is really looking at the electrical system, the plumbing system, the HVAC system, and the roof. And it's obvious things. So if I'm getting a listing and it's over 20 years of age, I would definitely get a 4-point inspection. Make sure that the house is insurable before you get under contract and everything becomes like a pressure cooker environment with emotions to manage and everything else. I've
Right.
also seen the lenders on high alert. So yesterday took a call from an agent, um, Chase Bank, I think up north, is concerned because there was some staining on a ceiling. We had inspected the house on October 11th, 2 days after Milton made historic landfall, and they wanted confirmation that that stain was not active. And we had in our report put that it was not active, but they wanted proof that it was caused by a prior leak. And unfortunately, we weren't there, 3 years ago. But we managed to put together a letter, kind of identifying like historic rainfall. This property would have, received over 7.5 inches 2 days before we got there. Um, if ever there's a time to confirm that the roof is watertight, I would argue this is it. So I'm waiting on confirmation back from the realtor, but I think that letter was going to be helpful. It's just there's different things that the banks and the insurance companies are asking for as they become more scrutinizing of each of these properties.
Right. And is that typically within the scope of the services you provide, or are you essentially helping this deal not fall apart?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I mean, we, we get things like this all the time. You know,
Hmm.
you do the home inspection, and like real estate, it's not as straightforward as you list the property, you sell the property. It's the same with the home inspection. You have underwriters who have questions about the wind mitigation and 4 point. They think you've done it wrong. There's a question or concern, and we pride ourselves on being able to like clarify those things. And I mean, we're not perfect. We have put stuff wrong on some of those reports, and we get it corrected really quick, so it doesn't slow down the sale. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something you mentioned before, when we were having a conversation about your inspection reports, that I thought was interesting to note. So your 239 inspections, your local, you happen to be very familiar with the neighbor contracts and the Florida Realtor contracts in terms of what's a defective item and what's a cosmetic item. How do you help interpret uh, all of those things, to help the buyers and sellers and agents in those
Yeah,
contracts?
that's a good question, Jillian. I mean, we have different categories. So a defective
Hmm.
item is in line with, the neighbor and FAR bar contracts. Any defective item gets a photograph, and it is literally page number two of our report. So you don't have to search too far in the 40 plus pages. It's right there. All the
Right.
defective items are kind of up front. And then we do have a second section, which we call comments. I know some people call it marginal but
Hmm.
it's really just we want people to know that we solve something. So, for example, if we run across a 25-year-old air conditioning system, we're going to let the buyer know, like, hey, it's working great. This is not something that is contractually like you can ask for, but we just want to make you aware there's a good chance you're going to need to replace that in the future. And
Hmm.
another thing that we often see is like cracks on garage floors. It's like every house. So after inspections, we were getting callbacks. Hey, you missed this crack on our garage floor. I'm like, no, that's actually on just about every garage floor, right? So we
Yeah.
now just take a picture of it, and it just stops the concern, from the buyers when they see it. We're like, hey, we pointed it out. We don't think it's structural. Um, you know, if it was structural, we would have put it as a defective item. But
And are you taking a look at the foundation if you do think that something's structural? Is that, or are you looking at foundation issues, things like that?
yeah, we are. I mean, there's telltale
Hmm.
signs of structural issues. Had a conversation actually yesterday with a customer where we found some structural issues. I'll be honest, it doesn't happen that often. Um, but in this particular house, it settled maybe 2 to 3 inches, and
Hmm.
um, the house had been there since the 80s. I don't think it was going anywhere, but we recommended them getting a structural engineer out there, and the structural
Yeah.
engineer essentially said the same thing. But I mean, it's a pretty high ticket item to jack the house back up and shore it and everything else.
Yeah, and we're always surprised when things settle, even though Florida's bedrock is literally limestone, which is like a sponge. So we, we've developed on this sponge-like material, and so things are just gonna, over the course of 40 years or so. And so it's really important to take a look at that. And one thing I appreciate about you, Adam, is that you have an engineering degree, and you can look at things in from that lens. Not currently a structural engineer, right? but
No,
but you can take a look and notice that when you need to address a significant, what could be a significant issue. So.
Yeah,
So what?
you
Yeah, go
mentioned
ahead.
limestone and sand, and I mean this is something else. It's like as they're building these new construction properties, um, we have seen a lot of like they drive the trucks, they plant the trees, all of that stuff on top of it. And if your buyers are getting um, new construction, I would highly suggest getting a sewer scope. I would say most of
Mm,
the sewer lines that we have been scoping and inspecting on the new construction, they're cracked, they're misaligned, there's something wrong with them. So while your customer's still within their 1 year warranty, I think it's money very well spent.
oh, interesting. So the new construction communities are going over existing sewer lines,
No,
or are they installing them that are, where there could be an issue?
yeah, when they pour the foundation and run the sewage line like and connect up with the city,
Mm-hmm.
they backfill the property line up with sand. And as the sand is on top of, these plastic pipes,
Mm-hmm.
heavy equipment on top of it, we're seeing shifting and damage and stuff like that.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. That's a good. That's a really good tip. When you're within your 1 year home warranty, go ahead and it's money well spent to get that taken care of. It's something that you wouldn't think about, but could really mitigate risk in the future. So,
Very high
are there
percentage,
any other?
like over
Yeah,
70%. There's something wrong, so it's pretty high.
that's my dad is a landscape architect, and he often gets irritated with the way that irrigation lines are can be damaged in that same process.
Yep.
So it's we don't think about these super heavy uh, vehicles going over all the things they've just installed, and that it wasn't meant to hold that for so long, and we need to take a look at that. What are some other issues that you're seeing that realtors are facing in the home inspection world?
I think so. I just earlier this week I had a conversation with a friend who's looking to buy a condo, and he reached out to a top producing agent. Top producing agent has the listing, and they suggested that they waive working with a buyer's agent so that they could save their 2.5 or 3% on the purchase price.
Commissions are non-negotiable. There's no
Yeah,
standard rate.
understood.
Gotta say that. Yep.
But,
Yep. Yep.
but
Yeah.
the interesting thing that came
Yeah.
to me with this was like there's a lot of change happening in this industry, and
Mm-hmm.
you got to be on top of it. You got to learn. You got to figure out how to do it. And not only is there change coming in, from this lawsuit, but there's some there's some cannibalization that's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
I talked to real estate attorneys. They're representing more buyers than they have historically. So I think just understanding that the market has shifted, the dynamics have shifted, and being able to like get in front of that is really, really smart. So I'd love to play
Mm-hmm.
a game, and it would be kind of awkward, but like just go around to real like give me your 20 seconds. Like why should I hire you? What is the
Right.
value that you are adding? And I really, really hope um, agents take that to heart because I feel like good agents are the glue that holds the transactions together. And with attorneys doing this and listing agents boxing out buyers agents and people wanting to sell
Mm-hmm.
themselves, it's now more than ever you got to be able to articulate what value you add. So like here's some things that I would be throwing out there, and I mean everyone's different, but if you're a buyer's agent, you know the neighborhood better than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know the amenities, you know the neighbors, you know the schools, you know the valuations, so like
Mm-hmm.
articulate that and make that a part of your thing, so that as buyers are coming into the market, you can guide them, through that process and save them a lot of time. It's time or money, and I think a lot of people will spend the money to save the time.
Absolutely. And I would say if you want a fast food cheeseburger, you're going to go through the drive-through and not pay very much. But if you want a nice, sirloin gourmet burger, you're going to sit down, you're going to pay a premium for that. It's going to be a better experience. You'll probably not get as much indigestion,
Yep.
So we need to treat our business in a way that gives our customers that elevated experience that's worth every penny. And just as a note to the PPR agents listening, we do have your your buyer's agent value proposition class on your learning portal there, and we also have all the objection handling as well. And so in Florida, right, we are presumed transaction brokers. So while we represent a side of a transaction, and even perhaps the customer on the side of the transaction, we only owe a limited set of duties. And the highlight here is that in Florida, we do not presumptively owe our customers or clients fiduciary responsibilities and duties. We do not have a fiduciary interest in buyers and sellers in terms of full obedience, full disclosure. And one of the benefits of that is, as a transaction broker, where you are sort of at an arm's length, but you can work both sides in a professional manner. That's helpful for those listing agents who also want to represent the buyer. But what you're describing, Adam, is saying it actually is in the seller's best interest and in the buyer's best interest to have a separate person other than the listing agent looking after that side of the transaction. Because if you're a buyer, and you might save a little money, but the listing agent may also want you to pay a higher sales price, so that if they are doing a percentage commission, that it's higher on that end. So how are they truly looking out for your best interest in that angle? So we do have some resources on your intranet to help you objection handle, some scripts, some presentations to really be able to articulate the value. But listing agents, you could really do the industry a solid by wanting there to be another professional on the other side of the deal. It actually protects you in terms of an errors and omissions perspective, more when you do that. So it is so important that we all understand the importance of that and our transaction broker capacity. Because if you're a listing agent and you're transaction broker, but you're providing fiduciary communication and insight and obedience to that seller, you better run far away from whatever buyer that submits a contract, because now you are in practice practicing dual agency, which is a felony in the state of Florida that you can get in a lot of trouble for. So let's say you start acting in a fiduciary capacity with the seller. You can't go back. If you start repping the buyer, you can't go back from that. You've breached your professional duties. So that's my soapbox about dual agency and keep towing that line of your limited responsibilities, which is why buyers do need an attorney to represent them. Absolutely.
It's
So
really interesting hearing this. I know it
mhm.
doesn't necessarily directly impact home inspections, but it's really interesting to hear it. So
Yeah, sorry, a little off
no,
topic,
it's all right.
but that's my soapbox about what I'm seeing happening right now. So um, great. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share before we go in terms of the value you even just provide to agents for that
Yeah, I
experience?
think just two things, and I'll wrap up. This is a people business. It always has been a people business. Have the good personal touch. Touch a lot of people, and it's really about how you leave them feel. I think the agents that touch a lot of people and leave them feeling in good, positive, energy, are the agents that are gonna make a lot of hay Um,
Right.
and, it's the same for us. We are also in the people business. We know when we go and do a home inspection, we have to do a thorough job. That's the requirement for us. Like realtors have errors and omissions through their brokerage. We have errors and omissions as well. So we have to do a good job. But it's really about how you do it and how you leave people feel. Um, so I wish everyone well in doing that. And if there's anything that we can do at 239, I'd love to help, whether we do the inspection or not. 239-300-2420 is our number. Extension 2 is the post inspection ask a question line. That rings me. And I will be
Oh,
I will be
nice.
glad to take any calls that come in. We are available until 9 p.m. every day. We're non-alarmist. One call, one appointment. We do it all. Got a lot of good online referrals, and our reports are super easy to read. So if we can help you or your buyers, or sellers, we'd love to do so.
That's great. I'm so thankful for our fairly new partnership here as our preferred inspection vendor here at Premier Plus Realty. So many of our agents were already using you and had rave reviews, and so it was an easy relationship to build. So if an agent is about to go under contract this weekend and they want to put in an order for an inspection, what's the best way to do that?
239inspect.com is always available, or you can call 239-300-2420. Either one works. And
Great.
yeah, I mean, we try to be available within 2 days. So we're quick to schedule and available. And yeah, look forward to helping anyone we can.
Awesome. And you have a large team actually. So it's not just you, even though you're available till 9 to answer questions, you do have a really healthy sized team so that you can provide and you can meet the demand of what's happening in the market. So wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And PPR agents, I hope that you learned a ton, that you were taking notes. You can always watch this back. There were a ton of tips and tricks that I think that you can take back to your business to make you more professional, to increase your own value, and to truly help the people that we are here to serve. So from one Naples native to another practically native here, Adam, you've been here forever. I just want to say thank you for serving the Southwest Florida community and look forward to a continued partnership.
Thanks, Jillian. It's been a pleasure.